Hey everyone, welcome to Preface Nomad Junior. I'm Sal. Today we're going to learn how apps sense shaking. For that, we're going to make a game called Rolling Dices. This has dices randomly moving anywhere and showing random numbers. So when you shake the phone, they change. And you have to be lucky, so set for them to match. So here, they match and then the game stops and then you can restart it. So let's get into App Inventor and start making it. All right, so I will start with the designer 90% done and the media files ready. Pause the video and try to replicate the designer. Don't worry, you've learned all these components and concepts before. I believe you can do this. If you really want to start with this copy, let us know. We'd be happy to send you the copy and the revision materials. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's jump into it. So one thing I want you to notice is that screen one's aligned horizontal should be center because all of these will be stacked up onto each other. But if the aligned horizontal of screen one is left, then both of these components are going to be shifted to the left. We want them in the center. Okay. So if you remember in the intro video, we showed that moving this device, like shaking the device, will change the dice numbers. So how we can do this, we're going to introduce another concept, another component is an accelerometer. So what an accelerometer is, it's obviously a non-reversible component. What it does is uses the sensor in your phone to sense the movement, whether the phone is shaking or not. So we're going to use the accelerometer sensor to let us know whenever the phone's shaking. So at that time we can change the dice pictures. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get to blocks and see how we can code this. So what we first want to do is we want to first set that whenever the screen one is initialized, is that whenever the app is loaded, we want to start moving the dice in random directions. So what we're going to do is, if you remember in the previous lessons, we taught you about how we can move things in the canvas. So what we're going to do is we're going to first introduce screen one. When it is initialized, we want to set the dice one speed. I'm going to set dice one speed to 10, and after that we want to set dice one heading from a random integer from 1 to 360. So 1 to 360 and 0 to 359 is almost the same. So we'll just duplicate this for the second dice, and this one also. Speed 10, change it to dice 2, change this to dice 2. Okay, so with that, the dice should start moving. And if you remember that whenever the dice reaches any of these edges, we want to make it bounce and go back. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce dice 1, edge reached, and then we're going to call dice 1 bounce off the edge. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to, whenever the dice reaches any of these edges, it's going to make the dice bounce off the same edge. So if the dice reaches over here, it's going to make the dice bounce off this edge. Okay, let's do the same thing for dice 2. Change this also to dice 2. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to use the accelerometer sensor's shaking as an n, and we want to know whenever the accelerometer sensor one shakes, we want to set the dice one picture, set the dice one picture to a random from any of these 1 to 6. So for that, what we're going to do is, if you remember, we learned about picking up a random from a list. So we're going to make a list of all of those, and we're going to pick a random one. So pick a random item from the list. Let's move this here. And we're going to make a list. We're going to make 6 of these because we have 6 dice items. So let's rename this to 1.png. Let's check whether this is yes. So let's just duplicate this. Duplicate. You see, there's a lot of work going on over here. A lot of repetitive work going on over here. Later, I'll show you how we can simplify this and not make a lot of work for us. So let's rename this to 3.png, 4.png, 5.png. So this is a lot of repetitive work, as you can see. All right, so with that out of the way, let's see it in the app. Okay, so as you can see that the dice are moving in the app, and now I'm going to start shaking the phone. So do you see that one of these dice is changing the picture and the other one is not? Why is that? Because we haven't coded it for dice 2. So let's do the same thing for dice 2. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's see how we can make this a fairly easier process. So what we're going to do is let's delete this. Okay, so we're going to introduce one other concept. As you can see that there are only 6 of these pictures. So .png remains same in all of these. See, the only thing changing is the number, but the number is starting from 1 and ending on 6. So we can introduce join over here. So we're gonna join the text. We're gonna join the strings. Okay, so what we're gonna do is the first thing that we want to join is .png. So .png stays same in ID of all of these. So that's gonna stay the same. And the only thing changing is the number from 1 to 6. So what we have to do is we have to have a random integer from 1 to 6. So what this is going to do is that whenever this generates an integer, say 5. So what this is going to do is it'll have 5 plus .png. So how it will have is 5.png. If it chooses a random number, say 3, so it will have 3.png. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for dice 2. Okay, so one other thing that we want to do is that whenever the phone's shaking, is that as the pictures are changing, we also want to see whether these 2 dice are the same. So we're going to place an if block over here. Going to place an if block, and we're going to have an equals condition. Is that and we're going to see dice 1 dot picture. If dice 1 dot picture is equal to dice 2 dot picture, so what that will do is it will compare whether dice 1 and dice 2. So say whenever any of these pictures is the same, that this is also 3 and this is also 3, this is also 4, this is also 4. So we'll go into the if block. And after that, what we want to do is we have to do four things. We have to stop the dice from moving, and we have to make these labels visible. So for that, what we will do is we'll set the win label first, visible, set win label, visible to true. So the restart button, not visible to also true. And we want to stop the dice 1 from moving. So we'll set its speed to 0, set dice 1 speed to 0. Here. And we'll duplicate the same thing for dice 2. Okay, so what this does is that whenever the dice start matching, is that whenever they both of them have 3, both of them have 2, or both of them have 4, so the dice will stop moving, and the win label and the restart button will start showing. But if you remember that whenever the app starts, these buttons, you win and restart button, should not show. And over here we have coded it to show. So where do we code for it to not show whenever the app starts? So we code it over here. So what we want to do is we'll just duplicate this, both of these, and set them to false. So whenever the app starts, both of these are not visible, and whenever the pictures match, they become visible. Okay, so now let's code it for the restart button. So whenever the restart button is clicked, what we want to do is we want to do all these things again. So we'll just duplicate this part, because essentially the restart button will run the app again, which is actually the same thing as doing whenever the app launches the first time. So let's delete this. Let's get it out of this, and let's delete this, and let's have the when restart button is clicked. Okay, so with that, let's see how it looks in our app. So if you see, I'm shaking the phone over here, and both of these dice are changing, and at this time they match, and the app stops running, the game stops running, and the restart button appears. But if I keep on shaking, the dice still keep changing their faces. So for that, what we'll have to do is whenever the dice match, we want to set the accelerometer to enable to false. Is because so what this will do is that whenever the dice match, it will stop sensing the shaking. And whenever the restart button is clicked, we want to start the sensor to sense if it's shaking or not. So we'll set this to true. And now let's see it again in the app, how it affects. Okay, so I'll shake the phone now, and you can see that the dice are changing, so we have to be lucky for them to... Okay, so they match. Now I'm starting to shake again. You see that the dice aren't changing anymore. And when I click on restart, they start again. And when I keep on shaking, it doesn't change after it has matched once. So with that, we're done with this. All right, so what did we learn today? We learned about two things. First, we learned about the accelerometer sensor and how we can use it to sense the moving of the phone. In this case, we used it for the shaking, to sense the shaking of the phone. So whenever the phone is shaken, we can execute some code. The second thing we learned about is join, that how we can join two strings to make them one. So in this case, we used a random number from 1 to 6 and the string .png, joined them to make one string to give it as an input to the pictures. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.